Hi and welcome back again. This short video is going to be about little screws. It's a pretty dull subject, however I'm at the point of I'm fed up of explaining about little screws to people, so I'm doing a video in the hope that some people out there will watch it and understand why the problems they have that they're having. It's not a fault with the screws at all, I'm afraid. It's a fault with the fitting. Before I do that, I'm going to show you me drilling a hole and sticking a piece of metal into it to demonstrate what I'm about to say in a few minutes time. What I have here, hang on, let's get it so you can see it, is a piece of brass rod. It's around about 6mm in diameter. I think it actually might be slightly less. 5.98mm. I don't know whether the camera will quite pick up on that. Maybe not, I can't see the screen. Right, so near enough 6mm for the brass rod. Over here I've got a scrap of beech and I've got a 6mm drill here. I'm just going to drill. There's my preparation as usual for you. Right, 6mm hole, 6mm rod. And surprise, surprise, the point I'm making is a 6mm rod does not fit in a 6mm hole. You need a slightly bigger than 6mm hole to get that into there. And this is the point I'm going to come on about with screws in a minute. What I've got here are some of our 2x10mm steel brass plated slot headed screws. They are approximately 2mm in diameter across the outside of the threads. I'm hoping I can show you. There we go. So I'm struggling to point the camera and get everything right. It's just a bit awkward to film this. There we go. So that's 2mm. And this is one of the screws that we get people saying, oh, your screws aren't very good, they're really weak. The head snapped off mine. Well, let me explain. When you have a 6mm thick screw, it's got some inherent strength in the actual metal. So before the shaft of the screw breaks, you will undoubtedly strip the head out or break your screwdriver or just get absolutely stuck with it. The centre column on these screws, I don't even know if I can get that in there. I can't actually get the calipers in between the actual threads. But the centre core of this screw is likely to be around about 1mm. It might be slightly more. It's extremely difficult to measure, but any piece of metal that is only 1mm thick will not have much inherent strength in it. And that is why, if you failed to put the correct size pilot hole in first, the head of the screw will snap off. That is not a fault of the screw, that I'm afraid is a fault in the fitting and the preparation for the screw, and I will try my very best to demonstrate that. So I've got a scrap of oak, I've got a 1mm drill bit in here, and hopefully I don't know whether you can see that, probably not, but you can see how flexible that is. Let's just put a 1mm hole one side. And now I'm going to take that out and put a 1.5mm drill bit in. So there's the 1mm, there's the 1.5. Let's have a go at screwing some screws in. Hopefully I'm not going to drop this, and you can see what I'm doing. At the moment it's going in okay, and now it's getting really quite stiff to get in. The head's starting to strip out on that one. I have managed to get it in, but I've almost ruined the screw there. It hasn't broken, however, which is the fault that most people level at us with these screws. However, the 1.5mm hole, you can do that and you can see that goes in nice and easily. It's still got inherent strength there. It certainly won't pull out. And the basic lesson here is it's 0.5mm smaller drill bit than the width of the thread. I think if I turned, I'm not sure whether you can see it, you can see the head started stripping out on that one. I think if I turned it any more and the head hadn't stripped out, it would probably just snap off there. Basically, because what's happening here is we're trying to fit a 1mm shaft into a 1mm hole, and it just doesn't go. It's got nothing to do with the threads actually cutting into the wood. It's to do with the centre shaft putting too much pressure on that size piece of metal. The 1.5mm hole, no problem at all with that one. The screw head is still fine, and it's gone in right the way through with relative ease in compared to that. So the purpose of doing that is not to show you how clever I am, but just to explain the principles behind why, if you get either a ruined head or a shaft that snaps off on these small screws, the reason why. And if I hold that up there, whilst mine hasn't actually snapped, you will see on here the head of that is I can't get it any further in because the head's snapped on it. If it hadn't ruined the head on it, it probably would have snapped the shaft. The 1.5mm hole, no problem at all with that one. That's gone straight in because it's the correct size hole. So again, just to recap, the basic principle is, particularly with these really small screws, is that if you have a 2mm screw, it's a 1.5mm pilot hole. If you have a 2.5mm screw, it's a 2mm pilot hole. A 3mm screw, 2.5mm pilot hole. But as the sizes go up, they get inherently stronger, so it gets less difficult to do. And occasionally you can actually find screws like these even smaller. They go down to about 1.7mm, something like that at some of them. And the smaller they get, the less strength they have. It's as simple as that. So thanks very much for watching. I hope that's helped a little bit to save your screws and assist your fitting in whatever it is with the little screws. Until next time, take care. Bye bye for now.